Hello, howdy. Well, as you hear, I speak English. I'm speaking English right now. But poi posso parlare italiano. Che boroke namilo elnika. Che namiliso elnika. Tora akrivos afti ti stigmi. Ama Türkçe öğreniyorum. Şimdi Türkçe konuşuyorum. Obviously, my knowledge of Turkish, as you saw, is very basic. My knowledge of Greek is very fluent. Some periods I speak better, some periods I speak better, some periods I don't speak that well. Anyway, there's a core of knowledge. I understand and I speak fluently. You can judge my English e potete sentire come parlo italiano. Well, I've been teaching English as well and helping people learning Italian and being myself a student of modern Greek. I have my opinions about languages. First of all, the first thing we have to, I noticed there's a high degree of failure. Most people who learn how to write, learn how to write. Everybody learn how to write. Most people learn how to drive. And we take for granted that you don't need to be a genius to be able to drive or to spell. Okay, in English it's a little bit more complicated, but it's not like Chinese. In other languages such as Italian, Turkish, Spanish, and Portuguese, the spelling is quite phonetical. Greek is somewhere in the middle. If you read the way it's written, you can tell the way it's spoken, not like English. But the other way around is not that easy. So you have 4 ways to spell the sound E. But each and every of these 4 ways is always pronounced E. So it's easy to read, not so easy to write. So high degree of failure in this domain, while in other domains we take for granted that everybody knows that 5 plus 5 equals 10. But in our own languages, most of people, unless they have some specific problems, the default situation mode is people, all of people, except some exceptions that are due to some physical problems or neurological problems. People are able to acquire one language. So we take it for granted. If I acquired one language, I had no problem. Surely there are people who have no more vocabulary. Okay, I say every person can have a simple conversation in their own language with no problem. Some people can speak about everything, know name of every object, and even of, but that's another level. Okay, I say you speak with somebody, you don't have the impression that he's a foreigner or he's grasping at words when he speaks. He's a native speaker. Okay, that dispense with bullshit. So if you've been able to do that, why you're not able, why aren't you able anymore to do that in a foreign language? And my opinion is that you're using different methods. You're not applying the same system. Okay, you're an adult, you've been learning other things in a more memorizing things. Okay, so you needn't be a native expert in history, in geography, in mathematics. All the other fields don't have a starting point. When it comes to languages, we have a starting point. We already know our language, our own language. Okay, so not only that, but we have an inborn, so to speak, software in our mind that is geared towards making the most of all the inputs we have to speak. Even our mouth configuration, throat and vocal cords has been developed in, I don't know, hundreds of thousands years. So together with that, we developed an inborn, not language, ability to learn language. Otherwise we wouldn't learn the language, and we would speak the same language. Let's say that there is a place of our mind that is, so to speak, projected, geared towards acquiring a language. So why do we not use that part for another language? Because all the other things we learn in a different way. Because they are not languages. So we try to use the same system that works for history, because we don't have an inborn. First of all, even to learn history, you have to learn, a first language that you use. To do everything in your life, you need a language. That's why in Greek, the word for language, logos, means also rationality. And logikos, logic, stems from that. We use systems that work for other things because we're used to that. But they obviously do not work. If I've been cooking pastries my whole life, I can adopt the same system to cook meat or fish. Okay, it's a different ball game, a whole different ball game. So what happens? The first approach we have towards foreign languages is when we're in school. And everything we do there, at least that's what happens in Italy, and I think in also many other countries, is stilted, is superimposed, let's say imposed. Superimposed is other thing, but in a way it is. And it is menial, it is dry. That's why we say in Italian conoscenza scolastica. And the even word scolastico, it means school as an adjective, means not that good. Okay? That happens also in America. They think that learning colors, and I use that to teach colors, that's much better than telling. You need to see the green to understand it's green. Okay. They always said, they didn't say I tried to learn Spanish or I started learning Spanish, I took Spanish. You don't take a language. It doesn't make any sense. It's a school terminology. That seems I took that and I put it back. You know, you take something and you put it back. That's what they do. They take things, okay, today you have to learn, then this is, for example, tazza in Italian. Okay, I'll learn it for the time it takes for me to show somebody else that I know it. Then I put it back. And my mind erases everything. Because my understanding as a language learner, I started a new language 6 months ago, Turkish. Since I learned the other language so way back in the past, that I take for granted. To me, Greek is so easy. Yes, after 35 years, it is easy. But I forgot consciously the amount of hours of exercises I put into it to become fluent. And remember that at that time, 1984, I didn't have access to listening. There was no listening. There was no web. The only thing I could hear is on short waves some del Tia edition news from Albania, Romania, Bulgaria, because there was propaganda at the time. There was also a division of Europe, and they had obviously not the best Greek accent, but I was so motivated, and to me, finding something in actual Greek, spoken language, and not in books, it was a treasure trove. And at night I could hear to Greek radio. I could listen to. Here too is not wrong English. I was thinking listen to. I could listen to Greek radio, or hear Greek radio, depends. But it was not steady. So one moment it was loud and one moment it was soft. And then when you begin learning a language, you need the signal to be loud and clear, because you don't have the knowledge that helps you. If you don't understand a word, you understand all the other words. No, you need to get it clear. Sorry, but when I speak, one thing is I'm very curious, and then I will speak about that. I always look up for the words I try to say, and they don't come to my mind, or what I see. It's very important. That's why I my knowledge of Italian is so rich. Briefly, when I was in school, I looked up each and every word I could understand in my own language. You don't know Italian? No. When you study, you broaden your vocabulary, and you need to learn new words in a context, but you need to learn them. Okay, that's the point. Okay, I was I get back to that curiosity. It's very important. So, to make a long story short, I was conscripted. You say conscripted? I mean, there was a draft at the time in Italy, and I had to serve, so to speak, my nation for 1 year. It was March of 1984, and I brought with me my Greek books. Actually, my Greek books, my Italian books to learn Greek, modern Greek. I studied ancient Greek before, so a lot of the vocabulary was similar or almost the same, in spite of differences in pronunciation, which I learned in the book. I learned those. I could read modern Greek. When I came back after 1 year, I did my whole homework. I studied the books. I learned as the palm. I learned them as the palm of my hands. I was in Italian. Backwards. Everything. But that was. First of all, these books didn't have a modern approach. It was a lot of vocabulary exercises, but I couldn't help but use that. So what happened when I came back? I couldn't help but using those books. Just a second. Sorry, I got the traces. I had to use. I couldn't help falling in love with you, but use those books. You know, sometimes I get. Nobody knows or master a language 100%. Anyway, my point is, I didn't have any other approach. I have a knowledge of English and Italian, obviously. English has always been my second language. And that helped a lot. When you already know another language, and when I say know, when you already speak another language and understand it, your brain is a little more versatile, is more subtle, is okay. When I came back, I took lessons from a real Greek person. He was from Lesbos, which is an island. And my first approach, I gave him books. He read Oscar Wilde translated into modern Greek. And we recorded tapes, you know? That's not a real tape, but things like this. Actually, this is a box. I like it. This was part of my life for nearly 35 years. When I came back, so I took lessons and I recorded tapes, and I listened to these tapes so much till I could understand modern Greek in real time. And when you overcome this point, everything is easy. Because you start using the language, and the more you use, the more you get the hang of it. The approach that I had at that time, it was so different in Greek because I didn't have access to the web, and I had a lot of Greek music tapes, and I was lucky because I like Rebetica, I like that kind of music, and a lot of words I learned is from those tapes. It made Greek so familiar to me. Then for a long time I disregarded. I did all this Greek thing. I get into French, and then it took me another now it's 7 years I restarted. On the face of it, I had forgotten Greek, but not really. But in 1987, after only 3 years, my level of Greek was so high that I got I know in Greek, it doesn't occur to me in English, hypotrophia, grant, I think it's a grant. Hypotrophia doesn't have the technical word, I think it's a grant. There must be another word. To go to Greece for 1 month, and I went to Thessaloniki. I always forget in English. Scholarship, yes, there was another word other than grant. Scholarship. I stayed there 1 month. It was paid by the Italian state, Italian university, and I was very good. Then for some reason I gave up everything. I was more into brushing up on my English, which was my second language. At the time I was not able to juggle 2 different languages. I was young and I thought that I was without compromises. Okay, now I'm into Greek. No, now I speak Italian. Obviously, I'm in Italy. Greek, English, as you can hear. I'm learning Turkish. You need to find every day space for each and every language and have priorities. My priority is Italian and English. Is that language I love. I like to. You see, sometimes I get twisted also in English. But all in all, then I also learned French. I learned French out of spite. I didn't understand French. I found it very difficult to find étudiante. Is it feminine? Why there's not an A at the end? And I got very, very fluent in French in I think also 2 or 3 years. Then I forgot French. I still understand French, but I cannot speak it actively. I mean, je peux parler français un petit peu, mais je ne parle plus comme je parlais. Ça fait longtemps, je parlais français. Maintenant, j'ai to, chercher les mots quand je parle, et je parle comme en anglais. At ce temps-là, I didn't have any accent. I mean, I could speak French very, very fluently. That's not one of the languages. I mean, I've been through several languages. I'm speaking now about the languages that I still actively use. If I find something that is in French by some, okay, and I need to understand, I understand. But anyway, it's not one of the language I would say, which language do you speak? I wouldn't ask French, because my mind is, if I have to mention a language, I must be good, I must be proud, and I shouldn't be afraid of, show myself speaking that language. I mean, to be you see, sometimes I'm at loss for words. I always write the words I belied. A belie has many meanings. Anyway, just a second, and we'll speak about that. So, one thing I find that made a difference in all this process, in all these processes, is the will to learn and the fact that I didn't like just the idea of speaking a foreign language or understanding, but I liked the process. Process depends, of learning a foreign language, and every phase and every step of learning or acquiring a foreign language has the pros and the cons. Now, for example, Turkish is, when you start something, everything is new. Sometimes you are frustrated, but everything is new and fresh. Disproved. That's the word I was looking for. Not deny, disprove. I don't want people to disprove my knowledge of a language. So, just a second. So, I started a new language. Sorry if I'm distracted. To put myself in my students' shoes. This has been so long since I started a new language that sometimes I think it's easier than it actually is. Okay, that's so I started learning Turkish because I took Turkish, as I said before, when I was in university, and I was studying modern Greek. I didn't say that, but I was very good. That's why I got a scholarship. But I never learned it. I'll put it aside. My focus at the time was on Greek. I think I have to shoot another video. It's too long. It's almost half an hour, and I have so much to speak about.